Whoa! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday. Excuse me, over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. That's Credit Karma, K-A-R-M-A. Get knowing. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have a problem. There's a problem in New York, and there's a problem in L.A. Ladies and gentlemen, we have problems. There is no way around this. There is no way to sugarcoat this. Based on two things that have transpired in the last 24 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have a problem. It's a big one. First is the problem in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, I got something to tell y'all. Something very, very important to tell y'all. I watched the Brooklyn Nets last night. Losers of 3 straight, supposedly fading. 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. 500 record at 36-36. Going to Sacramento and were getting blown out of the state. It wasn't to the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't to Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. It wasn't to the reigning defending 2-time NBA champions. No, it was at the hands of a Sacramento squad that ain't been relevant for quite some time. And all of a sudden, after being down 28, after being down 25 to start the fourth quarter, after getting outscored 37-20 in the third quarter, the Brooklyn Nets came back and beat Sacramento. And why did they beat Sacramento? Courtesy of this all-star in L.A. He's viewed as a villain. Why? Because he's seen as the guy that mistakenly or foolishly and stupidly or childishly ended up diving out Swaggy P. That was his reputation in L.A. His reputation in Brooklyn, I'm talking about D'Angelo Russell, is that this brother is a star. He's an all-star. And this brother showed up on the court last night in that fourth quarter and went absolutely positively berserk. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, 27 points in the fourth quarter, driving to the hole, showing a motor that we hadn't seen from him, pulling up for threes all over the place. I mean, about the only thing that was as good as D'Angelo Russell last night was my little brother, Ryan Ruocco, calling the game. My God, he was sensational. I mean, you talk about bringing excitement to a broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you something right now. You got the great Mike Breen. Bang! You know him. He's phenomenal. You got the great legendary Marv Albert. Somebody I also consider to be a legend. He works for Fox. His name is Gus Johnson. That's my brother right there. Somewhere out there you listening to me, Gus. You know I love you, bro. Sensational broadcaster. Ladies and gentlemen, this kid, Ryan Ruocco, this young kid, my little brother from another mother, this young kid is special. I mean, you listen to him call a game. That's all I'm going to say. I'm digressing from the subject at hand, but I'm just so proud of him. I'm just so proud because I'm over 50 now. So you know what? I'm like a father figure to people now. I'm over 50. That's how it goes. I'm just so proud of him because he's so great at it now. He's phenomenal. That's about the only thing that was as good as D'Angelo Russell last night. I know Dudley hit the three from the key. That was nice. I know Hollis Jefferson drove into the lane and threw up that lefty overhead over Marvin Bagley, who, by the way, can ball. God help anybody if he gets ambidextrous. He learns how to use his right even better. Look out for Marvin Bagley. He's justifying why he was the number 2 overall pick. And we all know how I have raved about the Sacramento Kings and what Vlade Divac has done and what Yeager has done as the coach and what Buddy Hield with De'Aaron Fox, who I thought the Lakers should have drafted instead of Lonzo, and the pickup of Harrison Barnes. And this guy Gills III, who's so physical. And Willie Cauley-Stein, who's athletic and a greyhound, a thoroughbred. I like what I'm seeing in Sacramento. But Brooklyn? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Let me tell y'all something. Biggie would be proud. Jay-Z got to be proud. I'm trying to tell y'all something right now. The Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets. Somebody needs to start paying attention. And if you are a New York Knicks fan, ladies and gentlemen, I just got to say it. It's just not good right now. It's just not good right now. If you are the New York Knicks, here's what has happened. Because of how the Brooklyn Nets are looking, devoid of a superstar, but exceptionally well run by Sean Marks and a pretty damn good coach in Atkinson. With this roster of players who are clearly together, you don't see too many benches going off the way those brothers were going off last night. The support that they have for each other, they are family. I'm trying to tell y'all something right now, man. Brooklyn Nets. I can't. Look, I'm a native New Yorker, born in the Bronx, raised in Hollis, Queens. There was no Brooklyn Nets years ago. I'm all about the New York Knicks, but I got to tell the truth. I got to tell the truth. The Brooklyn Nets are one of the great NBA stories throughout this NBA season, and it's getting even better and better, unfolding before our very eyes. They're going to have enough space for a max player, possibly two. They already got a crew of young dudes who can play. LeVert can play. Hollis Jefferson can play. D'Angelo Russell can play. Allen can play. I mean, these brothers ain't no joke. You ain't even bring up Dinwiddie, who got the contract extension and well-deserved. These brothers can play. I'm trying to think of something to complain about. And the only thing that I could come up with is traffic on Atlantic Avenue. I want no parts of it. That's about it. And oh, by the way, I'm Stephen A. So guess what? I ain't trying to take the subway. I don't feel like getting mauled with a bunch of questions. But I ain't the typical fan that's got 9 different subway lines going to the Barclays Center. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem for the New York Knicks. Because if you're the New York Knicks, all you got right now is the $73+ million available in cap space and the potential to have the number 1 overall pick in the draft because you got the worst record in basketball. The Brooklyn Nets, devoid of any stars, are 23 games better than the New York Knicks in the win column. The Knicks got 14 wins. Brooklyn's got 37. And ain't a single damn star on their team. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. The Brooklyn Nets are coming. And I got news for you. They're not just coming come playoff time. They're coming towards free agency. If you are a Kawhi Leonard, if you are a Kevin Durant, if you are any of these mega stars, why would you pick the Knicks over the Nets? Especially when James Dolan finds himself in the news for one idiotic reason after another. Getting in Steve Mills and Scott Perry's way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not good. I'm a Knicks fan. Ain't gonna never change. Ain't gonna ever change. I know I'm grammatically incorrect, but damn it, I'm excited. It's not gonna ever change. I'm gonna always be a Knicks fan. But I tell you this much, I ain't gonna be a net hater. I'm not gonna be a net hater. I might hate that traffic on Atlantic Avenue. That's about it. There's a better brand of basketball in the boroughs. It ain't in Manhattan, Midtown. Oh, it's in Brooklyn. And it's the Brooklyn Nets. Plans for the beginning of the day, they play Toronto in the first round. With nothing to lose. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it's time to start paying attention. Now, I said it months ago. But I watched D'Angelo Russell put on that show last night. And I watched Dudley come and hit that key three. And I watched Hollis Jefferson close the deal with his layup with 0.8 seconds left in the game. And as great of a broadcaster as Ryan Ruocco is, a young, great broadcaster, play-by-play guy, he wasn't faking his excitement. What a comeback. What a comeback. I couldn't believe it. They were down 25. I contemplated going downstairs last night at my house and cheating and stealing a bowl of Crunch Berries. I've laid off the Crunch Berries, but I was going to cheat last night. But then I disciplined myself and said, damn it, I need to go to bed. And this sugar high I get is going to keep me up. I don't want to do that. So I went back up and flicked the damn channel. And it was 25 down. And then suddenly it was like 8. I said, what the hell is going on? What's going on? Item today was the Brooklyn Nets. But it wasn't just because they're good, with the potential to be great if they acquire a marquee free agent in this summer. It was because of what it does to the Knicks. If my man Jalen Rose is right, it won't matter, because even though cats talk about wanting to win, and clearly Brooklyn's a better situation than the Knicks in that category right now, when you have these stars, they usually go to the bigger brand. And the Knicks are clearly a bigger brand. But right now, let's be clear, that's all they got going for them. Especially with James Dolan. With his foolishness being in the media for such pettiness. Like trying to throw fans out of the garden. Grow up. I don't get into all the complaints about James Dolan like other people do. But in this regard, grow up. And stop getting in the way of your subordinates. Help them to do their job by staying the hell out of the way. Grow some thick skin or do us a favor and don't show up. Let somebody else sit in your seat. Go play the guitar somewhere. New York Knicks in trouble. They in trouble. Because now they need the #1 overall pick, because you're going to have a lot of cats excited. If the New York Knicks get the #1 overall pick, it's going to be Zion Williamson out of Duke. And you're going to have a lot of cats excited about coming to play with him. So that would help you. But if you don't get the #1 overall pick, who's there to be excited about playing with? R.J. Barrett's got skills, but he ain't wowing you to play with him. Not like Zion is. And I'm afraid if the New York Knicks don't capture the #1 overall pick in the draft lottery, then I think people are going to choose Brooklyn over them in free agency. That's my thinking. But the New York Knicks ain't the only ones with a problem. The other team with a problem is the Los Angeles Lakers. Because news came down that Doc Rivers reached an extension with the Los Angeles Clippers. And I got great news for you. At the top of hour number 2, I'm going to have someone that is undisputably one of the top 2 executives in the history of basketball, who also happens to be the consultant to billionaire owner Steve Ballmer of the Clippers. His name is the great Jerry West, the silhouette himself. He will be on the show at the top of hour number 2, the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Don't miss it. And here's a big reason why. The Los Angeles Clippers have agreed to an extension with Doc Rivers. Now, as I reported weeks ago, Doc Rivers had the right to get out of his contract after this season if he wanted to. Even though he had recently re-upped with them, he had an out after the season. He could have left. But Doc Rivers, as far as I'm concerned, outside of the brilliant coaching job that now has him as one of the top 3 Coach of the Year candidates in the NBA, as far as I'm concerned, no CP3, no Blake Griffin, no DeAndre Jordan, but he's in the playoffs that the players will begin today. And the Clippers are about 10 or 11 games over 500. What a job by Doc Rivers. What a job. Patrick Beverley, Danilo Gallinari, Shea Alexander. These are the people that he has. These are 10, 11 games over 500. What a sensational job by Doc Rivers. But another brilliant move he made. All that noise percolated about the Lakers. Clippers came, re-upped him, made sure there wasn't no possibility he was leaving for the Lakers. He's a Clipper for years to come. And oh, by the way, he's got the better team. Who, by the way, has more cap space than the Lakers to offer a free agent or 2 this summer. So in New York and in LA, we got the sister franchises, essentially, for lack of a better term, the Mets. That's the Brooklyn Nets. They're basically the Mets to the Yankees. Except the Knicks ain't really the Yankees because the Yankees actually win and the Knicks don't, but that's beside the point. I'm talking about Brandon here. Branding. You have a situation where there's 2 stepsisters or stepchildren in the 2 largest markets in the United States of America are threatening to be number 1. Relegating the 2 premier branded franchises to nothing. Because let me tell y'all something right now. This Lakers situation that you're looking at, it ain't going to get any better if you don't improve the roster. Magic Johnson and LeBron James are under immense pressure to get somebody to come to Tinseltown for the purple and gold. The Clippers don't appear to have that problem. I'm here to tell y'all right now, they're incredibly confident Kawhi Leonard's coming to L.A. Kawhi Leonard has been balling. The numbers are there. Don't get me wrong, but if you speak to NBA analysts, they will tell you they see something's missing from Kawhi Leonard. That fire in his belly, per se, that says that he wants. They're seeing more of the guy that wanted to leave San Antonio now in Toronto than a guy that helped Popovich and Tim Duncan and those boys win a championship over Miami a few years earlier. That's what they're seeing. So the belief is that Kawhi Leonard definitely is leaving Toronto and that he's going to end up coming to the Clippers. I don't know. I don't know Kawhi Leonard. But I'm telling you what NBA aficionados are saying. They believe he's leaving. They believe he wants to be in Toronto. They believe this is a one-year wonder. That's it. And Toronto's going all in. Masai Ujiri went all in. I'm going with Kawhi Leonard. We going for the chip. We trying to win the championship. And then even if he leaves, at least we deliver the championship to the city of Toronto and the country that is Canada. That's basically what he's saying. In the end, what it comes down to is that the Clippers, because you can't rule Kevin Durant out. If Kevin Durant's going to leave Golden State, and clearly Draymond Green doesn't care whether he stays or goes, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And Golden State, while hoping Kevin Durant doesn't leave, their priority is to keep Klay Thompson because they don't want him to become a Laker. The bottom line is Kevin Durant could be going someplace else. And if he's going someplace else, why would it be the Knicks instead of Brooklyn? Remember, he's connected to Roc Nation and Jay-Z, even though Rich Kleiman is his guy. But he used to work with Jay-Z, if not still doing so. So the bottom line is if Jay-Z going to look out for anybody and he's got any kind of influence, it would be Brooklyn instead of the Knicks. Now, his man Juan Perez is a Knicks fan true to his core. But Kevin Durant's a grown man that's going to end up making his own decision. The point is, if you Jay-Z and you got any kind of influence, you're going to steer him towards Brooklyn, not the Knicks. Unless he chooses to go to L.A. And you cannot put this past Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant don't care about that purple and gold, all that branding, luster and all of that. That's not him. And I don't think for 1 second he's trying to help LeBron James remain atop the heap. He's trying to knock him off. Kevin Durant is somebody that believes he's the best in the world right now. He don't think we know what the hell we talking about when we say LeBron better than him. He don't believe that. So why would he want to go and help LeBron win in L.A. when he could join the Clippers and dethrone him directly? Even more personal than he already has done. Oh, my Lord. These storylines. It don't get no better than this. It don't get no better than this. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We'll take your calls on this and then some. We'll talk about all of this, the Brooklyn Nets, the Knicks, the Los Angeles Clippers, Doc Rivers' new deal, and, of course, the impact that's going to have on the Lakers. And that's just getting started. I ain't even bring up Draymond and Kevin Durant yet. I ain't even bring up Philly against Boston tonight, which is why I'm in Philly right now. And I ain't even get to the NFL. And, oh, by the way, Jerry West. The great, phenomenal executive himself, Jerry West, the consultant extraordinaire at present moment, is coming on to start off hour number 2. Oh, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. You're listening live. Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes, do you? You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. Your calls and more up next. Don't touch that dial. It's Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Learn what affects your credit scores and what you can do to improve them with Credit Karma. Maybe you need to dispute an error in your credit report, or you're paying too much interest. Credit Karma can help with that. Visit CreditKarma.com or download the app now. That's CreditKarma.com.
On the Times of Owners meetings, but I'd guess no.
Because it sure feels like Scott Boras, who waited Bryce Harper out forever and was very proud of the deal, was the most money over the longest, blah, blah, blah. That's what we wanted. And Mike Trout and his agent said, hold my beer. Because essentially, after waiting till the end of spring training, or close to the end of spring training in his free agent year, Bryce Harper finally signs that 13-year, $330 million deal. And yesterday, Landis and Mike Trout get a 12-year deal for $430 million, making it the highest contract, not in baseball, the highest contract in sports, ad infinitum, period, exclamation point.
The first thing I thought of when I saw that amount was it's going to take him 12 years to get to half the net worth of Kylie Jenner. Think about that for a moment. Think about that for a moment. Now let that one go. And this sport is making, all the pro sports are making tons of money for guys, and we'll get into the money that Anaheim is making out there of why it won't be as detrimental as some people may think against them. But, man, good for him. I mean, you want to talk about he could be the most low-key, highest-paid athlete I've ever seen.
I said the other day, they came out with some stat that said they're not sure now what noise dinosaurs made, if they roared or not. I said dinosaurs and Mike Trout have that much in common because I was not sure until yesterday what Mike Trout actually sounded like. Like, you could have played me an audio clip from Five Guys, and I would never have known unless it was just some dude who happened to be talking about the weather, since we know Mike Trout, his only public interest that we really know is that he is a big weatherhead. And he
also a huge Eagles fan. We see him at every Eagles game possible. So you're right. Those are the two things we know. He likes the dew point, and he likes the Eagles.
Follow the show on Twitter at Golick and Wingo.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by mycomputercareer.edu. Training for a better life. 888-SAY-ESPN. Remember, top of hour number 2. The great one himself, the one and only, the Silhouette, the one and only Jerry West, consultant to the Los Angeles Clippers, will be on the line with yours truly to start off hour number 2. LJ, you're live. What's going on, big baby?
What's going on, Stephen A? Great afternoon. I want to talk to you about your comments you made earlier on First Take with Max Kellerman. He asked you, would you put LeBron over Kobe? And you said yes. And I wanted to know, is that strictly on numbers, or is the competitive aspect factor into your decision?
There's nothing to talk about with the competitive factor, because I would always give Kobe and MJ the edge over every basketball human being I've ever known in terms of their competitive edge. I'm talking about for 46 minutes over the course of 82 games, along with the playoffs, just from a physical perspective. He's more of a physical specimen than Kobe. He puts up similar, if not better, numbers. So in that regard, yes. But what I often say is that what it took LeBron to get to and mature to a point where he is now, I kind of hold against him, because Kobe and MJ came into the league with that. And I always give them profound respect. The problem is Kobe plays the same position as MJ. So if I have MJ, I don't need Kobe, but I always need a LeBron. And that's where I get that from.
Okay, so go back to the Lakers situation. I had Chris on my podcast last night, the caller you just had, and we talked about the Lakers situation. I told him the factor is that LeBron got hurt. If he wouldn't have got hurt, the Lakers would have been in the playoffs, and all this other media nonsense wouldn't be going on. So do you agree with that if LeBron did get hurt, they would have been in the playoffs?
I do agree with that. Wait a minute. Agree with it. LJ, I had him going to the conference finals.
Well,
I still say to you today, I know that if LeBron had not gotten hurt, I really, really believe we've seen Oklahoma City struggle as of late. I think come playoff time, as phenomenal as Houston is, they can be one-dimensional under D'Antoni. And I think LeBron could overcome that. I think he could overcome anything but Golden State if 100% healthy and he had never gotten hurt. Yes, I believe that.
That's what I need to know. Appreciate you, Stephen A.
Thanks a lot, my man. Appreciate the call. Barry, real quick, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Barry, go.
Yeah, Stephen A., thanks for having me. Philadelphia basketball fan, tonight is a must-win game for the Sixers. They must beat Boston. They must push them back across the Delaware. I don't care if they come across the Ben Franklin or the Walt Whitman. This is a
Why do you feel that way
tonight? What do you think?
Why do you feel that way?
Because if they want, they have to get into they even get to the finals. They got to win this game. This is a must-show game for them, man.
Listen. They need to win this game because Boston smoked them in the conference semifinals last year. That is true. But it's not necessarily a must-win from the standpoint, oh, my God, if they don't win this game, they're toast. What I will say to you is this. Boston has a psychological advantage over the 76ers. Boston came in without Kyrie Irving and beat them on the night that Tobias Harris arrived as a Sixer. Boston has their number, and Brad Stevens clearly outcoached Brett Brown last year in the postseason. So whether it's Embiid, it's Simmons, it's anybody, with the crew that you have, if you're the Sixers, it would bode well for you to beat Boston tonight. I just don't know if you're going to do it. But I can see the Sixers winning tonight. I still wouldn't pick them in the playoffs against Boston. That much I'll tell you. 888-SAY-ESPN. Hour number 2 up next. National television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Any moment, we're expecting to receive a call from Jerry West. Called me yesterday, wants to come on the show. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm hoping to hear from him. You know, he has been around for a long time. The man is 80 years old, turns 81 years of age in May. I'm not going to hold it. I mean, he don't need the job. He don't need to be on the air talking with me. I'm honored to have him whenever he calls. Hopefully he will call any minute from now, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. The great Jerry West, I'm hoping to have on any minute now. By the way, the Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Credit Karma. Get your truly free credit scores and free credit monitoring from Credit Karma today. That's Credit Karma, K-A-R-M-A. Get knowing. Also, need seats to a game? Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order today. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Ladies and gentlemen, on the line with us right now is a man that is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the greatest players in NBA history. As a player from 1960 to 74, averaging a career 27 points per game, he is the silhouette and universally recognized as arguably the greatest executive in the history of basketball, who happens to be a consultant these days to the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm talking about the great one himself. Mr. Jerry West is on the line. What's going on, Jerry? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for all those nice accolades. I hope you meant them.
Yes, I did, sir. Yes, I did. Let's get right. Let's get right to it. First of all, Jerry, I mean, can you put into words for me what we've been witnessing from the Los Angeles Clippers this year? There is no CP3 anymore. There is no Blake Griffin. There is no DeAndre Jordan. But this team is 12 games over 500 at 42-30, already having won as many games as they did the entire last season with 10 games to go. Explain to us what we've been seeing from these Los Angeles Clippers.
Well, you know, Stephen, sometimes I'm at a loss for words to watch us play. And I would say, number one, there's a couple of things I think we should talk about. Number one, Doc Rivers has done an absolutely incredible job. Honestly, I think he should be Coach of the Year. I don't say that from a biased standpoint because I work for the Clippers, but we've basically given him two different teams to coach this year. And in the middle of the season, the trade that we made with Philadelphia to get rid of one of the greatest people and greatest pros in terms of how he conducts himself, Tobias Harris, and then also a person that I would pay to have in our locker room every year of my life in the NBA, Boban Marjanovic, and then to trade an all-defensive player to Memphis. And frankly, Stephen, I think we're a better team. And that's a great tribute to Doc, his staff. But he likes certain kind of players, and he really likes the people that are kind of dogs, okay? They get after you. I think roles have been better spelled out since this trade. At one time, Gallinari, who is one of the best players in the league that gets no love, he does everything, but he is so unselfish, and he would defer to Tobias. He would defer to, of course, to Lou Williams, and I think sometimes his offense got lost in the way, but he's a great three-point shooter, 90% free throw shooter, and a very, very, very underrated defensive player. So he's stepped forward. Doc has chosen to put these people that we've got into trades in position. We got some people that are, again, very tough-minded. We pass the ball better, and I think we're a better defensive team, to be honest with you. But he's done an absolutely fantastic job, and he really, in my opinion, there's other coaches I greatly admire out there. I think with everything that's transpired during this season, Doc, to me, should be right at the top of the list. It's fun to watch. Every night I go there, I look and say to myself, my gosh, a lot of people don't think we're talented. We have some very talented players, very talented. We have a player, Pat Beverly. I think he's averaging 11 points a game. You could arguably
that's one of my favorite players in the league.
Player.
Yeah. Yeah, he's tough as nails, doesn't run from anybody, he's a rough rider, make no mistake about it. But the thing that shocks me is that I did not anticipate that you guys would be a top 3, top 4 offense in the NBA. That is what has shocked me more than anything else, considering the fact that you're devoid of quote-unquote stars. But offensively right now, you look at the numbers, y'all are ranked like 3rd. How do you explain that?
Well, I think, again, we seem to pass the ball a little bit better, and we got players now that are not as offensive-minded as before. But number one, we've got a player on this team who's going to be the 6th man again, Lou Williams. He scores easier than I think any player I've ever seen in my life, and I sincerely mean that. He's just deceptive. He has the ability to change paces. People play him going left, and some way he'll get back left, and he'll make an impossible shot. But he does it. He scores in bunches. And, if you get somebody make 3 or 4 baskets in a row and probably a couple of threes, those separate close games. And then Montrezl Harrell has been tremendous. He has really improved his game, and he has really taken a gigantic step forward, Stephen. And like you, I'm flabbergasted because I watch our guys shoot around sometimes. I say to myself, my gosh, how are we going to score points? But we score points. We score points. It's like magic sometimes. But as I say, it's been so much fun for me to watch. And, I would be really remiss if I didn't really talk about Lawrence Franks, Michael Winger, and his office that Lawrence has assembled. I think he should be executive year, hands down. He's done just an incredible job of making trades that have made us so much more important going forward. Everyone always talks about free agency. I think free agency sometimes, if you got a lot of money to spend, and we have a lot of money to spend, sometimes it's fool's gold, because if you don't get a player that you think is a player that's going to be able to significantly help your franchise, and, you read all this stuff in the newspaper, I wish people would just stop it. No one knows what is going on behind closed doors with players and their agents in particular, and it's a huge financial hit for a player to take. And anyway, I just think we're so well positioned because of some of the things Lawrence has done in the front office. There has never been a harder working front office than this, period. I have never seen the front office work this hard.
Jerry West, how do you like this? I've got Lawrence Franks as arguably the executive of the year. I completely agree with you with that, with a couple of moves that he's made. There is no question in creating cap space. You're going to have more cap space than the Lakers. I'm paying attention to that, okay? I got Doc Rivers as a top 3 coach of the year with Budenholzer in Milwaukee and Malone in Denver. I think they both have done outstanding jobs, as well as Doc Rivers. You can't ignore that. And I got, without question, the 6th man of the year in Lou Williams. So that's how I'm looking at the Clippers. Having said all of that, Jerry West, I will ask you this. As we sit here today, did you imagine that losing Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, that you would find yourself as an organization, I'm not talking to just you, but as an organization, did you imagine that you would find the Clippers in this position right now, particularly when you couple that with the fact that the other team in L.A. are the Lakers, and they just got LeBron? Did you see this coming?
Well, obviously, I think, when you add a player with LeBron James' caliber, and Stephen, I've been a huge fan of his. I've been a great defender of him over the years. When you get somebody like that and you bring him into town, I was frankly excited because I like to watch him play. Sometimes these things, through injuries, they've had a ton of injuries this year, him included. But the expectation level that people have when you add a player of that importance, it is just tough sometimes to achieve it. But I would tell you, and far as the Clippers, I believe in competition, okay? I don't think there's any one player, unless he's young and enormously talented, that if you, in today's day and age, the way this game is played, and it's played significantly different, coaches have had to change their philosophies because of the three-point line. If you can add a player that would maybe be a huge danger before the three-point line, have a good passing team, and more importantly, a terrific defensive team, nothing is impossible in this league. And I've always said sometimes that I think sometimes you can trade players off of your team that everyone praises, and you can become a better team. Sometimes sometimes if you subtract something, it'll add addition somewhere else on your team. But I've never been afraid. You know, people say, well, you know, this guy's going to sign somewhere else, that guy's going to sign somewhere else. If they want to go somewhere else, fine. This is about competition, and that's where I think the front office makes a difference. Again, my plaudits are to the authority that Steve Ballmer, who is one of the best owners, and I work for one here in Los Angeles, and Jerry
Without
Buss.
question.
He is one of the best owners and nicest men I have ever met. You would never know that he's successful. He is really normal. But the thing I love about him, he is so competitive. And at the end of the day, who do you want to be around? You want to be around really competitive people who are going to let his staff run this team. They run everything by him, but he is an amazing owner.
Jerry, stay right there, because here's what we're talking to the great Jerry West right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. I'll ask you this question, Jerry West, because, you know, Lawrence Frank was once a coach in this league. He knows his basketball now. We know what Doc Rivers knows. He's a champion, okay? Ballmer is the billionaire who is, as you said, one of the nicest people you could ever want to meet. What role does Jerry West play with this franchise? I know you're a consultant, but how much cachet do you have? How much do you utilize? How much do you talk with and communicate with these folks? Because we're talking about one of the great executives in the history of basketball.
Well, Stephen, with Doc, I don't bother him as much. The one thing I would never do with a coach is tell him what to do. When I was involved here locally in Memphis and also with the Warriors, I think it's wrong to interfere with a coach's ability to create what he wants to create. And Doc and I will tell you, we like similar players, and no question about that. But I think it's made it easier for me. Steve and I talk all the time. Lawrence, there's not a day that goes by that we either don't talk or text each other. But the people in the office, Michael Winger, we had a brilliant man in our front office. And Lawrence, again, I don't think there's an executive in the league that's out watching players as much as him. He is a tireless worker. And I told him one time, I said, Lawrence, look, we've got about 6 other people out there scouting for us who are all terrific. And my role, as I view it, is just to be an advisor. I'm not someone here. I don't like attention. I don't like publicity. But I do love competition. And whoever we're playing, the Lakers or the Celtics, whoever, I want us to win. And I will tell you, Stephen, there's a lot of nights I've gone home this year where I haven't been able to sleep because of great wins we've had. And I just sat there and, again, a tribute to Lawrence and a tribute to Doc that he has taken these players and molded them into a team that really believes they can win.
But I can tell you this much. Knowing Lawrence Frank, and anybody who knows Lawrence Frank knows how competitive he is, okay? Anybody that knows Doc Rivers knows how competitive he is. Anybody that sees Steve Ballmer at the games knows how competitive he is. But when we talk about Jerry West, who is arguably one of the ultimate competitors, okay? Even though you're a consultant, look, championships when you were with the Lakers. Championship, ultimately, you're with the Golden State Warriors. I think one of the most brilliant moves that I've seen in the modern day was when you hired the great Hubie Brown to be the coach of the Memphis Grizzlies when nobody was thinking about Hubie Brown, and you got him off the scrap heap out of the broadcast booth to come work with you as the head coach in Memphis who developed Gasol. Now I'm looking at you with the Clippers. It's the Lakers. We know, you know better than most, being in Los Angeles, how the Lakers are the brand. You spoke about your competitive fervor. How much of that plays a role in you? How much of that juice flows through you, knowing that you're with the Clippers now instead of the Lakers, with everybody expecting so much from the Lakers, particularly since they got LeBron?
Well, Stephen, I would tell you this. I will always be a Laker at heart, okay? I will tell you, I always will. You know, I have a son that works over there. I'm very proud of his work ethic, and he loves the Lakers. The most important thing in the world in his life is the Lakers. And I kid him. I kid my son Johnny, who works with the Warriors. I kid them about we're going to kick their fannies, okay? And I would love to beat the Lakers, but more importantly, I would love to beat the Warriors. But I would love to beat every team in the league. I would like to see this team, and particularly if Steve can get his building built in town. This will be the ultimate competition for a team that is a historic franchise in the Lakers, for Steve to have his own building, and where we will have dates that are favorable to us, and he will build the best building ever built. You said he was worth $20 billion, Stephen. That's about half of what he's worth. And he's got the wherewithal to do it. But look, the Lakers will be a huge part of my life. Jerry Buss gave me an opportunity. I love that man. He was very much like Steve Ballmer. He is a people person. He was as human as you could possibly be. No ego. And ego-driven organizations sometimes are at risk. And I'd like to think that the most important thing about this franchise is what Steve has brought to the table. He's brought believability. He's hired the right people. He has assembled a staff that I'm telling you, Stephen, I've been with 4 different organizations. And when I was with the Lakers, we had 2 or 3 people working for us. That was it. Myself, 2 other scouts for a number of years. And you're able to do it if you work hard. But this staff that Lawrence has put together, and again, I don't want to be a poster boy for getting Lawrence Frank the Executive of the Year. If he's not the Executive of the Year,
but he might deserve it.
He really deserves it. He really deserves it. And again, I'm
Jerry
thrilled
West,
to be involved. If you walk in our building, Stephen,
yes,
you will never see so many happy faces. Never. Everyone participates. Everyone loves to come to work over there. And I always felt that was the most important thing.
I want to get back to you, Jerry, because I believe everything you're saying, and I get you, and I'm around those guys enough to know that you're telling the absolute truth without question. But I got to get back to you because you got a whole bunch of folks in L.A. that wonder about these things. So I got to ask you, first things first, what's your relationship? And I need some quick answers because I got a few questions to come at you with this one. What's your relationship like with Magic Johnson, or what has it been throughout the years?
Well, first of all, listen, Stephen, I'm always going to root for him. He was. To me, he's the greatest player. They talk about Kobe Bryant. I think he's the greatest Laker player ever because of his leadership ability. I think Kobe Bryant's ability to score, and everyone talks about his mentality. Trust me, Irvin Johnson's mentality was the same. He never talked about it. And I think when I look at their situation over there, number one, you would like to see him healthy for sure. And number two, LeBron James, the way he plays the game, he is most effective when he has the ball in his hand. That's when he's a genius. That's when Irvin Johnson was a genius. And the thing that they went out and tried to get some players that would complement him. But along the way, some of these guys haven't shot the ball real well. And as you're well aware, the three-point line certainly is so vital today. And if there's been any disappointment to me is watching them shoot the ball. They just don't shoot it consistently enough. And they have runs when because they're playing at a much faster pace, that if they're not making threes, or any team in this league, forget the Lakers, any team in this league, if you're not making threes, you're going to have a lot of run-outs, Stephen, and they're going to be layups, and it's hard to defend in a spread court with the enormous talent these kids have today and the enormous ball handling ability these kids have today. So making three-point shots is crucial, and when they make those, they're a very good team, but they have not been healthy at all this year. But obviously they've got a lot of work to do in the off season. They'll analyze it, in my opinion, and try to change the team in some respect.
Well, let me tell you why I'm asking you that question about Magic Johnson, for several reasons. Number one, Jerry West is a competitor. Number two, it's the Clippers in a position now to essentially take over L.A. as far as I'm concerned. You got more cap space. Your owners got more money than everybody. Okay, there's nothing holding you back. And God help you if you're able to get the facilities that you ultimately want, meaning a new arena within the next 4 years or so. Who knows what it's going to be like? You can only imagine. We also take into account the fact that it was Jerry West that was the executive of the Lakers when Shaquille O'Neal was acquired from the Orlando Magic. It was Jerry West that was in the ownership's ear in Golden State as a consultant when Kevin Durant decided to come to Golden State. All of these kind of things, the Iguodala's of the world and others, Klay Thompson being drafted, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at things from that perspective, the belief is Jerry West, in concert with Lawrence Frank, Doc Rivers, Steve Ballmer, is so ultra competitive, they absolutely plan on winning free agency this summer over the Lakers, and that might be a primary motivation. Nobody's more fired up than you, sir. To that you say what?
Well, I would tell you, as I say, we're excited about the summer, but as I mentioned before, Stephen, there's been so much talk about free agency, and obviously the people in the news media have created that. I don't even like to talk about it, to be honest with you, because we're hopeful that we can get somebody interested coming here. Our selling point is going to be Steve Ballmer. Our selling point is going to be a head coach like Doc Rivers. Our selling point is going to be we have different kind of fans than the Lakers. That's our selling point. But, Stephen, you certainly give me way too much credit. I'm just a voice. Even though I'm not uncomfortable giving my opinion. But more importantly, I do like risk-taking. I really do. The best risk-takers, and that means that they think that certain players are more valuable than others. The best risk-takers, to me, do the best in this league. And that's what I see this organization doing. And as I say, we all love competition. You like competition. I know you do.
Yes, I do.
The people who succeed in this league are the people that don't talk very much. I don't believe you promise your fans anything. Promise them you're going to work as hard as you can, and more importantly, try to deliver on that promise.
But don't you have to make a promise that you're going to acquire somebody with all that cap space y'all are scheduled to have?
No, I don't think that's necessary. I think everyone is well aware of the cap space, but more importantly, going forward, we have a lot of resources going forward. We received some draft picks from Philadelphia. Again, Lawrence and Michael Winger did an unbelievable job in negotiating the trade that we made, and we gave up a terrific player, as I mentioned, a player that I've never met a player that I like any better in my life. He and Marjanovic are two people that you would want as your neighbors. They're that nice. And then Avery Bradley, an all-pro defensive player, another incredible person. So we gave up something, but we think we got in return a giant return in the sense that we got all these future assets. So we're excited about the summer. We're not promising anything. We're just going to try our very best quietly to do a job that Steve Ballmer has assigned to all of us.
Jerry West, I deeply appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much. Congratulations to you and the entire Clippers organization on what I'm seeing this year, because I'm stunned. I did not expect to see this. This is a great, great job by the entire crew. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Stephen, always nice to talk to you, and continue good luck to you. You're like
Thanks a lot, buddy.
You're the new SPN, by the way. That you represent what ESPN is all about. Look forward to seeing you.
I'm
Take
trying.
care.
All right, buddy. I'll see you soon. Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
my best.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the great. Thank you. Thank you so much, buddy. That was the great Jerry West, arguably the greatest executive in the history of the National Basketball Association, a consultant for the Clippers as we speak. Lawrence Frank, Michael Ringer, Doc Rivers, Steve Ballmer, and Jerry West. That's who the Lakers are going up against. Good luck. Good luck. Because, oh my God, you're going to need it. Magic Johnson, brilliant basketball savant on the basketball court, has to show it in the front office. Rob Pelinka, he's got to be everything that Kobe says that he is. And, of course, LeBron's got to help. They got their work cut out for them. The Clippers are coming. The Clippers are coming. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to your calls and more in a minute. That was the great Jerry West.